In the heart of the state-of-the-art, at the dawn of the next stage in entertainment, you found No Proscenium.
You have indeed found No Proscenium, the voice of everything immersive. I'm your host, Noah Nelson, and welcome to episode 430 of our ongoing exploration of the immersive cosmos. This week on the show, our dear friend Graham Wetterhahn is here with us to talk about the upcoming Los Angeles Immersive Invitational, which is produced by his company After Hours Theater Company in collaboration with the Immersive Experience Institute. And we're unveiling 7 of the teams that will be participating in this year's Invitational, and it is quite the lineup. The Invitational Sunday Showcase is coming up on April 21st, and the tickets are on sale now, and you can find a link in the show notes. There are just 150 tickets across the 3 showings, as we break down later in the episode, and you'll want to jump on these. Before we get into it, just a reminder to all that voting for the 2024 NoPro Audience Awards ends this Saturday at 11:59 p.m. That's when the polls close for both the Reader's Special Award, which is open to all, and for the full slate, which is open only to NoPro backers. Backers in multiple categories this year, just a few votes separate the top entries, and it could be your vote that tips the balance in your neck of the woods. Check the show notes for more. Speaking of backers, this week we've got 2 new backers, Sam Zelton and Ben. This month we are on the march to broaden our backer base to finally crack the 450 paid member goal and to start inching this project towards true sustainability. We're about halfway there. Well, actually not about. We're a little over halfway there, and we got to charge forward to get it fully going on, to keep this going on. Immersive fans and creators, you should head over to patreon.com/noproscenium. Help us set the stage for the next 10 years of immersive arts and entertainment coverage and all the things we do behind the scenes here at NoPro. As always, big thanks to our sustaining backers, Samuel Mustry, Chris Woolman, Samantha Davison, Eric Shamlin, Elaine, Daryl, John Boulette, Cameo Wood, Jay Bushman, Jerome Joseph Genties, Kurt Collins, Ryan, David Bassick, Richard Ayers, Lonnie Hands-On, Lecker the Cool, the Ministry of Peculiarities, and Jan Budman. Thank you all for being our rock. And hey, we're always on the lookout to help the backers out with some special deals. We've done that a few times. We've got some more special events coming up, and there'll be like backer exclusive pre-sales and the like. Hit me up at noah@noproscenium.com for details. If you want to sponsor the newsletter, if you want to sponsor the website, that's possible too. Holler at me, noah@noproscenium.com for details. All right, let's get into the show. Joining me now is our friend Graham Wetterhahn, the founder and artistic director of After Hours Theater Company here in Los Angeles. Now, everyone knows from the beginning of the show what we're going to be talking about, but I want to put a little hype. I want to get Graham over with you, as they say in the wrestling circuit. After Hours Theater Company here in LA, you probably know them from such work as The Tempest, which was a co-production with the Shakespeare Center of Los Angeles. Or maybe you remember them from when they did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest a few years ago, and a few other things. Right now, as we're recording this just a week ago, they got 4 nominations from the LA Drama Critics Circle. And that puts them in the big leagues, all those nominations. Graham, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Noah. Nice to be here. Nobody ever hypes you up. Somebody should hype you up one of these days.
Yeah, maybe someone should hype me up. Folks probably also know Graham from like our trip to Star Cruiser, and I can't remember, was that the last time we were talking on the show? It was Star Cruiser, but and the time before that was we were on the deck we were on the deck for Tempest, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we're recording there. So Graham's been on the show a few times, and of course, this is good cop right now, buddy, because we're going to be talking to you about the Los Angeles Immersive Invitational, which is coming up. When is it, and specifically the Sunday showcase coming up?
The date of the Sunday showcase for the Los Angeles Immersive Invitational will be April 21st. Yeah, Sunday, April 21st. So just about a month and a half from now.
And that Sunday showcase, of course, is the culmination of the 3-day invitational event. Graham, before we get into the details, I know everyone's going to just fast forward through this part, but still, before we get into the details of who has been invited, we're going to reveal 7 of the teams of the 8 teams that have been invited. Because we've got 7 yeses so far. We've got one team being like, we're trying to work it out. We'll just give us a little more time. Tell us, what is this thing?
Sure. So the LA Immersive Invitational is a 48-hour, basically immersive theater creative explosion. Essentially, we find a space and give, this year it's going to be 8 teams, a space, a few small criteria or just things to sort of help them create work. And they have 48 hours to create 15-minute short immersive pieces. And they can do that pretty much in whatever style they would like, as long as it fits sort of the general framing of the festival. This is the 3rd time we've done this. And the first 2 times, I think Noah and I both agree were some of our favorite immersive pieces we've ever seen. It's just a really amazing community building weekend. There's just an absolute explosion of energy. And I come out of it incredibly inspired every time. And I think so do most of the participants. And audience members as well. It's really, really, really fun. I can't stress that enough.
The very first one we did in 2019, it was 4 teams, and one of the pieces that emerged from that was Corinne Wick's casting, which was just touring in New York City. Or I think is touring right now while we're recording this, and maybe even when it comes out is going to be like, no, not even just, it's opening, I think, this weekend in New York City while this is going out. I don't have all the dates in front of me right now, but that was born in that 48-hour crucible. And that was all, tell the origin story there, because there was a show of yours that you did back in 2019, I didn't mention, that was completely tied up in the origin story for the Invitational.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So in 2019, we did a show. We come from a lot of traditional theater and musical theater. So we were doing a show called The Last 5 Years. We did it last 5 years, a multi-sensory experience, which involved like scent design and cocktail pairings and stuff. But that's less important. The more important thing is we had 2 celebrity leads on that show. And so I booked the space for like 3 months. And, 14 weeks into the run, both of them got booked out on TV and film jobs. And of course, my $125 a show is not enough to match up to their film and TV salaries, even though they probably wish it would. And so they both had to leave the show. And so I was left with this space for 2 or 3 weeks with nothing to put in it. And so I said, well, I already paid for it, so what fun thing can I put in here, because we have this free space? And so I reached out to Noah, who you and I were not friends at that point. That was really kind of how we became friends.
Yeah, like we
and I said, hey,
we knew each other. I think I had covered Cuckoo's Nest, right? Maybe we had talked once beyond that, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we knew who each other were for sure. I think we had both walked through. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah, we'd walk through a place. Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't end up happening. So it's not there's no NDA that we're breaking, I don't think.
Hold on, I'm fascinated by this. Was that before Cuckoo's Nest that we did that walkthrough, and then you did Cuckoo's Nest?
No, it was no, that was after, because we didn't meet that individual. We met that individual through Cuckoo's Nest. So I know for a fact it would have been after.
Yeah. So that was the first time we did it. We did a walkthrough of a space looking. Well, once upon a time there was a dream, everyone, and the dream didn't come true that time. But that dream is not entirely dead. That was the first time we met as people.
but yeah, so we had this space, and we're like, hey, how can we use this productively? And I think I came to know, I don't remember how fully formed of an idea it was, but I think it was pretty fully formed. And you kind of just put your blind faith. You're like, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try and see what happens. And it ended up uh, being really good.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about casting is they do it. I've seen it a couple of times. It's almost exactly the same show. I don't even think they changed anything. I know, like Jansen, there was one of the groups that created a 90-minute version of the show or 2 hour version of the show from their 15-minute piece, but I think Corinne and casting kept a very, very similar show because it runs like what, 20, 25 minutes or something.
Yeah. And it's like, it was just sort of arrived fully formed like Athena from the brow of Zeus. It was
It
just
really
this
did.
my God, this is, and what was so fun was like Corinne had done a piece out at Highways. And I think that was, I Love You So Much, Squeeze Me to Death. Please forgive me if I
It's
got that
something
wrong,
close to
Corinne.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going just from pure memory here. You'd think I'd have notes, but no, I rely upon my poor addled brain. Everyone who listens on the
I
show
love you so much,
regularly knows
Squeeze Me.
that. And I thought that was an incredibly. I think that was the piece where I was like, oh, there's
Yeah.
something really here with what Corinne was doing, and or maybe it was a different piece. Anyway, there were a couple of pieces that Corinne had done, and Corinne didn't really know me beyond like writing the review of that show. And I was just hyped on that. And I thought, we reached out to some folks, and we brought in folks who were doing, immersive theater and, just kind of like playing in the space. And we reached
Well,
out to
and
some of the
they
established
were an
companies.
immersive dance company, right? They were
Yeah.
like
Well,
more
they
of
were
like an
dance.
immersive dance company.
Well, they were just dance company who were doing immersive stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that was like kind of like experimental for them. And they came in and as they'd say in Silicon Valley, they killed it, right? Just
Yeah.
completely.
It was amazing.
It was just this shot in the arm, and the whole process, like, I don't want that's not to like neg anyone who was working that weekend. Like, there was great stuff about each of the pieces. I was over the moon about Jansen's piece, which was the sleepover, which became like a I think Jansen intended to do it. Jansen Lalick intended to do that piece in Fringe the next year, but of course the next year was the high pandemic, the heart of it, so there was no Fringe, and so instead did an online version of it, which humorously enough, like when I went and did the online version of it, I didn't know I was going to see the show that I had seen as part of the Invitational. And I was just tickled pink too, because like I was like, it was still a lot of fun. It was decidedly different, but still managed to like get a lot of the vibe of that show over. And so just it was incredible to watch people assemble these fully formed ideas and little pocket realms out of nothing in like 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely, I think for both of us, it exceeded even my best case scenario of what those works were going to look like. And then we tried it again and pretty
Yeah.
much got the same result.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when we did the 22 one, and that was honestly like the first event I was involved in to like successfully get on its feet post pandemic. Well,
Yeah.
not
Live
post
event.
high pandemic. I try not to say post pandemic because we're still living with the dang thing. But like I and what was great about that one was a lot of the folks who like didn't come play the first time, like they were down to play for that time, and we had a really fun night. And there's some returning faces this year from that one. And tell us how that one
Yeah.
came about.
The second, well, yeah. So I think the first year it was just kind of like we have this space, like let's see if do something interesting and see if it works. We said, oh crap, this works really well. Let's try to make it more of a thing. And then the second year we were, it was when we were in working with Shakespeare Center. This is actually before we did Tempest. I was just working with them. Ben and I, who's the director of that show and the head of Shakespeare Center, were working with a benefit for Al Pacino, which is another interesting story for another day. So I got to work with Al Pacino for 6 months in room. That was cool. And they had this really cool space, and he was sort of interested in exploring immersive. And I said, well, hey, we have this event that they had this huge, like 20,000 square foot facility near downtown Los Angeles. And I said, hey, your space would be perfect for the Invitational. We invite all these creators. It's just a 48-hour festival. And he said, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. And they were very generous. They had this whole prop warehouse and costume warehouse downstairs that they let us use, and all of these huge and very interesting spaces, which was very different than the previous version, which was in a very much smaller space. And and as Noah, you said, I think the first year a lot of the perhaps more established immersive creators were not as responsive or didn't really know what this was and didn't really necessarily want to play. But by the second time we had done it, we had the first one had gone so well that I think everybody wanted to come and play. I think it went incredibly well. We did every time we're trying to sort of experiment with stuff. So like that time we had 6 established companies and 2 what we called ad hoc groups. Companies like Jansen, who you alluded to, he did not have a company at the time of the first festival. He kind of like made a company after doing that. Cricklewood came out of that. But so we were like, oh, maybe we can kind of manufacture that. And so we had like 4 teams of like 3 or 4 single creators who we paired up as well, which also came up with some amazing work. There's a piece, Well, which was the most creative use of space I think I've ever seen at the festival, and still a piece that I kind of think about and laugh at to this day. But that show is really cool because, there you had 8 companies and 8 vastly different pieces. And it was cool to see, how you'd have one team with 3 participants creating an all audio based walkthrough experience, followed by a 25-person full production team, full puppet multimedia experience, back to that, followed by a narrative escape room, followed by like it just the diversity and the tones and what people can do. Like just because somebody had 25 people and somebody had 3 people, you'd think like, oh, well, that piece probably had an unfair advantage. And no, I don't think so. I think it's really just how creatively like people use their time and energy and resources. It's really very inspiring. And it's cool to get to see everybody's very different creative processes too. I think that's my favorite thing, from a creator perspective. Selfishly, I have the ability to not have the stress of having to create a piece and just get to kind of float around and see how everybody works. And that's always really exciting and interesting to me.
Yeah, the thing I think I love the most is from an audience standpoint, you get to have this kind of rapid fire amuse bouche experience with all of these different creative teams, and they've gotten to like see how each other work over the weekend. We do some things to kind of encourage that and enforce that. But you also, I've watched teams that, I know, oh, this is what this group does, just completely kind of run into a different direction from like their usual comfort zone, and the time pressure involved of you just got 2 days to throw it together. And on the one hand, you'd think like, oh, well, what can you really get done in 2 days? And just, you can get a lot done. Like these pieces,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit sad. Like there hasn't really been an outlet for small form pieces, but like I would love to see a few of those pieces, like,
Yeah.
the piece that Spy Brunch did, which was this mystery like thing. Like it was like a it was like a sitcom, like living sitcom thing that we
Yeah.
got to be
Yeah.
in, which was just incredible. Like, I want to see those again. And maybe somewhere down the line, someone will be able to like do that, or maybe we'll do like a collection of like, in like
I would,
2 years of like, here's all the ones we loved, like a remount thing. We should probably talk about it. Maybe we should cut that. We just talk about that offline, but like something like that may happen one
yes,
day.
it's an idea. Yeah. Yes, we should talk about this offline. I have
Yeah.
a even bigger idea than that. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Um,
Yeah. We'll get to that. Don't worry, folks. We'll be talking. But
yeah.
but what's fun is like we're about to do it again, and we're about to see all new ones, and we're at an all new space. And a space that has been around for a while from a certain point of view, but at the same time is all new. Tell us about our venue this year.
Sure. So this year, first of all, the Shakespeare Center is currently being completely renovated. So that was off the table. Space is always one of the hardest things to find with immersive, as all of you all know. And we are very fortunate that a new space has popped up in Los Angeles. That space is called the Nocturne Theater, formerly known as the Glendale Center Theater, but purchased by Melissa Myers and her husband, who are most known for House of Spirits, or formerly of House of Spirits. They co-created House of Spirits, and and several other things. I know Melissa originally did the Haunted Hayride and sold that 10 years ago. But anyway, they're
Rated R
longtime
bar,
events.
very 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 well known for rated R bar in the horror community.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, they're very well established. They're amazing creature designers as well, like their costumes and creature design. Most as a choreographer. So they are longtime event and immersive veterans. And they bought a traditional in the round theater space in the heart of Glendale. And it almost I was shocked, when it happened because Melissa, I think as a lot of immersive and event people, like most of us at one point or another have done traditional theater, but it is quite a departure from what they normally did. So that was sort of surprising and very exciting to see. It's also just so exciting to have a space, a traditional theater space, a permitted and licensed theater space in Los Angeles that's run by an immersive friendly owner, because how many times for those immersive creators listening to this have you come to a space and been having to fight the owner for what to get the artistic vision of the show done effectively? It's always a fight, and so it's really exciting to actually have sympathetic owners at a really cool space. One of the things that they did, this is a huge space. They have a huge, I think it's about a 300 or 400 seat theater in the round.
Yeah, and it's
Oh, sorry, no,
deceptive. Oh no, yeah. I just want to point out, like, if you've ever driven by the space there in Glendale, it's right by the Great White Hut, up the street from the comic book store on, I think, Orange. And if you've driven, or Alex, or whichever street that is, it shares a parking lot with Porto's in Glendale, right? So if you've driven by it, you thought like, oh, it's this tiny little theater. It is so much bigger on the inside. That thing is a TARDIS. Like, I am shocked at how much space
yeah,
is in both the
yeah,
theater
absolutely.
proper and then the ancillary spaces in there.
Well, and that's so one of the things that they have already done to the space, and they've only, I think, been in control of the space for about 6 months. So I know they're still working on stuff, but they turned what used to just be sort of like upstairs storage rooms into fully functioning event spaces. So you have, all of these amazing rooms and hallways and rehearsal rooms, and they built the cabaret space in one of them. And that, I think, is where we're going to be doing our invitational, because we don't necessarily need a large in the round theater space. We need a lot of pocket universes, and so thanks to that really smart change, we're going to be doing the invitational, I think, more in their upstairs spaces this year, maybe some of their dressing rooms as well, TBD. But yeah, these spaces are awesome, and hopefully spaces that the immersive community can just use and rent out in general when you guys have shows. So part of the hope with this show is we're also helping introduce companies and venues to each other, and hopefully, I think one of the goals for this is always to sort of just help facilitate the creation of new art, and that's one way. Hopefully, we're trying to do it this time. Yeah.
So let's get into who is going to be creating some new art this time around. As I mentioned at the start, going to tell you about 7 of the companies. And this time out, and Graham, apologies, I might be stealing a little bit of thunder here. This time out,
Sure,
one of the
please do.
ideas, yeah, one of the ideas Graham and I have been talking about for a while is each time, like, what can the theme be? What can we be doing? And we're not actually going to talk about the theme. We haven't even figured out what the theme is. Like that's part of Graham's team. We'll be doing that. We'll talk about the after hours crew who's involved before this is over. Otherwise, Graham will get in trouble, and so will I. But thinking about what the sort of social function of this one is, and we really wanted to start having both folks that we have in the immersive community active and known, along with some of the more recent groups to emerge and some more traditional theater companies who maybe have played a little bit in immersive or who are doing immersive adjacent work or immersive friendly, and start kind of melding this society together like a little more clearly. And this is the first steps towards that vision this year, which I think, Graham, sets you up to talk about the first company we're going to be talking about today as we're going through these in alphabetical order.
Sure. Yeah, the first company that we'll be having is good friends of mine. They're a company called Coin and Ghost. It's sort of unfair to call them a traditional theater company, but they have historically lived in the traditional theater world, although they've always done very non-traditional traditional theater. They're one of the younger companies in Los Angeles, super diverse. They've done a lot of devised work. They've done drunk improvised shows. They've done shows where half of the show takes place live from a live stream from the theater. So there's a lot of really interesting they're always working with a really interesting focus on medium and how they're telling the story. And I know their head Zach Davidson and Kendall, who are good friends of mine, have always sort of been immersive curious, and so I thought this was a perfect opportunity to get their company involved and hopefully get them excited and enthusiastic and working in the immersive space. Oh, of course, and Zach is also an alumni of Speakeasy Society in Keller, so it's not like he's never done immersive before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not from the creator standpoint, not their first rodeo working in the medium, but as a company, not something that's part of their signature. And it's kind of exciting for us to have them involved, playing with the others. The first company I get to talk about, and I realized by doing this alphabetically, we might actually be like messing up. And I might talk twice in a row here or something.
That's fine.
Maybe,
It's okay.
maybe we'll shuffle a little bit. It's my show. Sorry. I just did a Lorne Michaels impression. I just did an impression
Good.
of someone doing a
Good.
Lorne Michaels impression, actually. Catnip, which Katie Foley and Lena Valentine, that is their company together. You might know them from Best Night Ever, which was a piece in the Hollywood Fringe years ago. They also did, which was incredible. They also did a fair number of pieces over the pandemic online, and recently did a single doubt, which was a Valentine's show that was a parody of the MTV's Singled Out. Yes, Singled Out. I nearly said Singled Out 4 times. They brought comedy chops to the LA immersive scene at a time when almost everyone was doing drama or horror, and very few people were playing in comedy. And Best Night Ever, which put you into limousines, and you were either with the bridal party or you were the groom's party, driving around in limousines around Hollywood as part of the Hollywood Fringe, and just these kind of soap opera antics unfolding in the cars, just really showed that you could do just screwball comedy in immersive and make it work real well. And I'm super stoked that Katie's going to be leading a squad this year. let's see. Maybe I'm going through
Oh,
the
no,
next
that's okay.
letter.
I should also mention before you jump, just to break it up vocally, I should also mention Sarah Beal and KJ Nees, who I think were operating as Bees Knees, also co-created that Best Night Ever project, who are also on the After Hours team. So they would be annoyed if I didn't mention that.
keeping it all in the family as we definitely
That's
are.
right.
And Sarah and KJ are working on the
Yes,
Invitational
of
this
course.
year
Yes,
as
they
part of
are.
After Hours.
Yes, they are.
So okay, so I'm looking at the notes and they're not alphabetical, so I'm trying to do this. I don't want to screw up the spreadsheet we have. I believe next up is Last Call, right? That's the
Cool.
next
Yeah,
letter. A B C D
yeah.
C D E F G H I J K L. Yes, L follows K. There you go. I can
Good job.
do the alphabet. I swear. I only teach college. I'm also exceptionally tired tonight. So Last Call, who a lot of you think know from pieces like The Showroom, and they've been doing a whole kind of, their whole thing is this very gamified theater. It often feels kind of a little bit like somewhere between like a murder mystery and an MMO come to life. They've played around a few times with the mythology of the SCP Foundation, which is this kind of Files like crowd created mythology that's been around for, gosh, I think like since 2012. It's been around for a very long time. I think the SCP might be like a decade old. And their latest work, Graham, do you have this from you? Because they've got a show that's opening
Oh, let me.
up this month. It's a pirate themed show. It's in my inbox right now, so I can probably get to it fast enough. Again, like not running from my notes.
Oh,
There we
yes.
go.
It's called Pirates Wanted, an immersive pirate adventure performing aboard an actual tall ship in San Pedro, March 30th through April 20th.
That's right. So they'll actually be wrapping up. This will be, like one part of their squad will be wrapping up that show that weekend and then instantly rolling in. I don't think anyone who's performing in that show is going to be part of the squad that's running their team here, but they are in the past couple of years have become one of the most prolific companies in LA, because pretty much every quarter they've got a new show in this format that they've been playing with for about 2.5 years now. And I'm excited to have them come in to the 48-hour format and kind of be, thrown a challenge in this kind of crucible and see what they do and see what kind of flavor they bring to it.
Yeah, I actually I've never seen their work, and I actually probably should go see their tall ship work. That's really cool. We did a lot of work with we got to go on some ships when we were working on the Tempest, but that's like quite a feet to be able to have to like rent out a ship and do a show on it. So I'm very impressed by that, actually. That's not easy to do.
I think you've got the next two. If my
You want,
if my English is holding.
let's look at this. Noah and I have had long days. I'm jet
Very long
lagged.
days. Yeah.
Let's is that would be
Q, the letter
Queen's
Q.
Fool. Yes, Queen's Fool. Yes. So the next group we'll be talking about is Queen's Fool. Queen's
Queen's
Fools? Yes,
Fools.
Queen's Fools.
Queen's Fools.
Queen's Fools. Sorry, Mason. Queen's Fools is a company. They this last year did Not Another Midsummer's Night Dream, which
Not
was
another
sort of
midsummer.
a
No
just
dream.
Not
Just
Another
not
Midsummer.
another,
No
yeah,
Dream.
not
Thank
another
you.
midsummer.
I wanted to say it, and I was like, oh, I'm probably abbreviating it in my head. Not Another Midsummer, which was a really hilarious meta staging of Not Another of a Midsummer's Night Dream. Part of it was doing the actual show. Part of it was like a noises off version where you're seeing behind the scenes and like the rehearsal process and the backstage drama, and you're kind of part of all of it. It was really, really creative from a structure perspective. There was some really incredible ideas in there, and it's also run by just some really, really smart immersive creators who are veterans of a lot of different immersive companies. The individual I'm closest with is Mason Conrad. He was a cast member in The Tempest. Oh, and they tend to do Shakespeare, I think, is their thing. But I doubt they'll do true Shakespeare for the Invitational. But maybe I'm wrong. Um, and
It's always the sonnets.
yeah,
It's always the sonnets. You can always take a sonnet and
that's
do something with it. Of course, I'm saying that now, and I'm almost like giving them a gimmick. Don't ruin that gimmick. Don't listen to the episode, Mason.
so listen, yeah, Mason work. And yeah, and Mason's just an amazingly talented immersive creator. I know he's done a lot of work with JFI, and I think his partners are also quite experienced immersive creators. Um, and they run with a good crew. It's just a good energy, really cool structure. I'm really excited to see what they do with this format, and I think they'll hopefully have a new work that they can continue to develop that comes out of this.
Yeah, I've actually seen Not Another Midsummer twice, which is a rare thing for me to see immersive more than once. There's a few shows I have, but that goes a long way to say like how much I enjoyed that show. That when they remounted it at Thymele uh, this past year after doing Fringe, that I wanted to see, how it was standing up and evolving, and it just that show's a really really good show. And so
Yeah,
I'm particularly excited. I don't know who they're bringing for the squad, but
they have a deep squad though.
their
They have a
bench
deep
runs
crew.
so deep,
Yeah,
that bench. Yeah. I'm stoked about that. Speaking of large benches and deep squads, your next group is one of our. I just realized we haven't done a single returning group yet, and now all we have to talk about now is returning groups. Our first returning group is the next one you've got to talk about.
that's right. Yeah, our next group is Rogue Artists Ensemble. Longtime veterans of both the traditional theater and immersive theater world, although it's almost unfair to really call them part of either. They're kind of their own thing. Um, I think from a show perspective, you'd probably know them from Woodboy Dogfish a few years ago, but they've done so many different types of work. They're most known for, they do a lot with puppetry. Everything they do involves some degree of puppetry. One of their founders, Sean Quelty, is an amazing puppet designer. Um, they did for the last invitational, they did Scoby or the life of a Scoby. And that was some of the most visceral and memorable moments in immersive theater, and certainly of that festival that I've done. They had a huge team. I think they brought like 20 or 25 people. They were using full projections. They had a whole stage manager and board and lighting cues and, 10-foot tall puppets. I mean, it was really elaborate as you lived the lifestyle of this Scoby, which is, I guess, like a microorganism that is like used in like a kind of yeast or something like that. But anyway,
It makes kombucha. It's the thing.
Mixed kombucha.
It's the thing you do, then it bubbles forth kombucha. It's weird. It's why I don't drink kombucha. It's strange. The kombucha
Anyway,
people are now being like, "No, you're prejudiced against our mycelial deliciousness," and I'm like, "Yes, I am."
They are an obscenely creative company. They did a benefit at the Santa Monica Pier Carousel called Carousel of Fools. It was like a immersive kind of like circus sideshow experience, and that was really really cool. But anyway, they're great people, great team, also a super deep bench, and just awesome creators. We're excited to get to work with for the weekend. Yeah.
Oh, now it's my, and I gotta.
Well,
This is really hard.
let me cue you up.
Yeah.
Which one is which?
Well, yeah, no, because they both the first two letters are the same in both companies. So it's like, more English problem. Yeah, neither of us are going on Jeopardy anytime soon. I'll just point that out. So.
Not in
barely
this
Wheel of Fortune.
No, not in this mental state. We're not. But the next company that Note's going to talk about is definitely a returning company, and a company I'm sure all of you have heard of and we've mentioned tonight.
That would be the Speakeasy Society. And one could make an argument that if it wasn't for the Speakeasy Society, NoPro would have died on the vine here in Los Angeles, just about 10 years ago, because no one really would have been doing anything. The Speakeasy Society, of course, came out of CalArts, and the first time I ran into them, they were producing a show called The Stronger, which was a riff on an Ibsen piece. And they were doing that at Edendale over in Silver Lake. It was a fun little kind of two-hander piece that they had that was quite enjoyable. And then they were doing more elaborate stuff. They did a whole cycle of shows based on Dalton Trumbo's Johnny Get Your Gun, that three separate shows exploring the themes in that novel and the creation of the novel and sort of Trumbo's life in and around that novel. And then and I will take both some blame and a little bit of credit in so much as my role as a commissioner of things. When I got to do Indiecade night games years and years ago, and was charged with bringing in different immersive folks in LA to come and do some pop-ups, I asked the Speakeasy Society to come up with something. And what they created became the first part of the Kansas collection, which I think a lot of the immersive
Whoa,
fans here in LA know. Yeah. So
I
the
didn't know that.
first,
That's
yeah,
neat.
the very first one, and that then became like the whole series. That was originally kind of it wasn't. I think by the time they were deep into the process, it was no longer envisioned as a one-off, but it started as a one-off for the for Indiecade night games, and they pitched a tent in the middle of USC, and then next thing you know, within like a minute of us opening night games that night, all the slots were full. So it was instant sellout, and then that proceeded to become this thing they did for a couple of years there. So again, a little bit of blame because it really tied them up for a while. So they were working on both Kansas and the Johnny cycle at the same time, and of course have also done some significant work for Meow Wolf. And last year, not last year, in 2022, a number of the actors with the company who were fielded in the team and took part in the Invitational. But the squad is coming back this year, and now I believe some of the artistic leads of the company are going to be playing in the Invitational this year as well. And I'm quite excited to see that happen.
Awesome. Your next one also starts with SP and is a returning company.
And it's
And
deep on the other side of the alphabet. This time it's Spy Brunch. Spy Brunch, who of course splashed on the scene with Safe House 77, a spy themed nocturnal event. It was like one part like house party, one part mystery. It was spies. It had a whole Fleetwood Mac like theme going on. This took place over in Los Feliz, and they followed up with was it Safe House 82? Was it one of the 80s? They followed up with an 80s themed one a couple of years ago. Sorry, Nick and Caitlin. There was a piece, and Spy Brunch, Caitlin Schiller was a member of the cast of Safe House 77, and Nick Reinhold Jones was the writer director of the show, and they did this for like Fringe one year. They did this, it wasn't even Fringe. It hadn't even been Fringe. They did this one-off piece that was about an AI in a like rocket ship, and your relationship with this AI in a rocket ship as you were kind of being on this long distance space travel thing. And it was one of like the most beautiful bittersweet pieces I've like ever encountered in the LA scene. I can't remember its name right now, unfortunately, and that's escaping me. But I have a lot of vivid imagery of like going into a closet in Thymele, and it's Caitlin like talking as the AI, and it's just this beautiful, sad piece. This is really, really incredible. And they've been working together, since the beginning of Safe House, and just they did a whole thing where they transformed Nick's backyard into this
Yeah,
whole
Dragon Show.
yeah, the dragon show piece, that just this whole like kind of mushroom kingdom thing with like a big like there was like a dragon puppet in the garage, and just
It was also
super,
a full musical. It was a full
yeah,
musical too, for
super
fun.
inventive, going all out, experimenting with like things online, during the high pandemic. Um, with the piece they did for the 2022, I think we mentioned it. Uh, it was this, you know, sitcom procedural mystery piece that had like music cues and like the whole nine yards, and it was it was just some loopy ecstatic work, and one of the most fun pieces in the last edition of the Invitational. So I'm super happy that they're back, and can't wait to see what they cook up in the 48 hours of the run.
They actually, just a fun story from last year. They had a tragedy that happened. Not a real tragedy.
No,
They
yeah,
had
yeah,
a creative tragedy, which is the table that they were working on collapsed mid,
oh,
like the night before, and they had built this really intricate miniature model, and I think it crushed part of the model, and they had to like rebuild the table and rebuild the model. So there was some drama in the creation of that, but they obviously didn't let it show. But if we were making a reality TV show of that, that would have absolutely been a cliffhanger before commercial break.
oh wow, yeah, I wouldn't even know. It was such a blast doing that piece. I think we just got through the seven that we can announce right now, right? That's everybody at the moment,
I Yes, I
right?
think that is
Yeah,
all seven. Yeah, there's
yeah,
there's an eighth that Noah and I are yeah. I guess we can't say anything about them but they're
yeah,
really cool. I'm very excited if they can do it. They would bring a very different angle to the event, and I really hope they can do it.
yeah, yeah. The vibe there would be deep, and I'm particularly hoping because it's someone who I will say this. I really hope it happens because it's someone that I've made theater with in the past, and more than once. And so that would be very exciting to have them in the mix. But we just schedules being what they are, we've just got to wait on a little bit of word. But I'm hoping that the answer is yes, because then it'll be this one will be extra special. I mean, they're all extra special, but it'll be really fun for me to see this happen. Like my little worlds colliding all at once. Just we're inviting all our friends to come play again. It's really it's a real joy. And I think what I want to impress on everybody now we've done this whole big rundown, right? Like, you know, sometimes, like we mentioned with casting or with the sleepover, these pieces get to have a life afterwards. And sometimes it's like Saturday Night Live. It happened and then it's done. And you only got to see it in that little bit of window of time. And that didn't mean that it was bad. They could be quite good, but it just might not be practical to do this again. Or maybe it grows into something huge. But one way or another, if you are an immersive fan here in the Southland, there's like just 150 tickets total for that Sunday showcase, split between the previews and the two runs. And you may very well see some of the best work you ever going to see from
Yep.
companies that you know and love, and that might be the only time it ever exists. So get your FOMO stoked because you want to be there on April 21st. I can guarantee it.
Definitely. Do we want to talk tickets and the different formats of tickets, or is that too much for this podcast?
Yeah, why not? Let's like break it on down for everybody. Because by the time we drop this, I think when we drop this, basically like everyone's going to be able to get access to them. All right, like that's sort of the plan,
Cool.
or we'll be able to shortly. Is the thing.
Cool.
If perchance it's not public sale, the pre-sale's been on for a couple of weeks for NoPro backers. But I know we've got some timing on when we're dropping a you know the actual press release and whatnot. But this is really the announcement here, the episode. So odds are you'll be able to get the tickets real soon.
Cool. Yeah. So I'll just quickly give a quick explanation of how we're doing the sales because it is a little bit complicated.
It's not
We
that
are
complicated.
using. It's not that complicated.
First, you have to
It feels
solve
complicated.
a math equation before we let you buy tickets. Then you have to find a duck. No, it's complicated for us. It's going to be really
Yes.
easy for them.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It was very complicated. We're using the same format we did last year. So last year we also had 8 teams, and so there will be 3 2-hour blocks essentially, and 8 15-minute rotations within each 2-hour block. So you'll get to see 8 pieces within 2 hours. On Sunday, we have a preview, which means the works are not locked. They're still, the teams are still working on stuff. They can still change stuff, but you guys are their first audiences that they're getting. Those tickets are a little bit cheaper because they are not completed works, and those will be just under $30, about $29.56 is what it says online. Not sure how KJ got those numbers, but that's the number that it is. As Noah said, there will be about 50 tickets available for each slot. And then, so that's the first and only preview. Then by our next 2 shows, we have a 4:00 show that runs from 4 to 6. And that is our first official performance. And that ticket will be fully completed works. But that'll be a fully completed work. Those are theoretically locked in at that point. And those are just about $50. I think $49.96 is what it says online. And then the last time slot is our 7 to 9 time slot. And that's, of course, the final time slot of the day. And those tickets include, if you buy tickets to the final performance, you'll have access to the awards presentation and champagne toast that we're going to do after. So after we didn't really even talk about this. We normally have a panel of judges or industry experts that come through, and audience also gets to have a vote. So if you are a ticket purchaser and you come to one of those second 2 performances, you will get a vote on what your favorite pieces are. We do an awards presentation for all of the teams, and we'll also hand everyone a glass of alcoholic or non-alcoholic libation, depending on your preference. And those tickets are a little bit more expensive. Yes, that's right. Those tickets are about $65.
And all of this at those prices, you might be thinking, how are you making money on this? And the answer is not really making money on this. This is a labor of love, and the hope is that there's some true break-even action going. There's a sponsor deck flying around if someone wants to sponsor, and particularly sponsor some of the awards that we're going to give out. That's part of the deal. We're doing this. Graham's taken great economic risk to do this, and we're putting our time and effort in here again to spark creativity, to generate brand new works, to get these companies familiar with each other, to get fans of one company familiar with other companies. It's kind of like everything we do all the time at NoPro in one weekend, but with brand new work on top of it. So come on out and support and catch this stuff, and set us up to do even more in maybe even more places.
Oh, and I think it's important to say, because I don't think we said it, all of the teams, it's completely free for all of the teams to participate. Not only is it free, we're also providing them food and some degree of resources in order to help them create their works over the course of the weekend. So theoretically, we're handling just all the logistics, all the insurances, and just letting these awesome creators just get a play and create without any of the stress of the normal logistics of production.
Because if you've made immersive theater anywhere, you know that securing the space, securing the permit, securing all the stuff, getting access to props, yada yada yada, is no fun. And so this is just try to make it so this is all the fun, and yeah, all the fun.
And only Noah and I get the headaches. We're the only people who deal with the headache.
Well, and KJ and Sarah and Michaela, but
Michaela,
mostly Michaela of KJ and Sarah. Let's be real here. I mean, we're not saying that we don't get the headaches too, but that's the whole thing. It's a blast. Graham, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for hitting me up all those years ago to do the first one. It'll have been 5 years, a little bit later this year, since we first ever did this.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that pesky pandemic, I bet we would be on like number 5 or 6 right about now. So I'm really glad that we're getting into number 3 and more to come.
It's really exciting. I was sort of thinking about this. The first time we did it, it's just, can we do this thing? The second time we did it is this a thing? And then now it's like, yes, it is a thing. And where can we go from here?
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see the future of this. And I know you and I, right after this, are going to be talking a little bit about that future, which I'm sure we'll share at some point later this year.
As soon as we can.
Teasing.
All right. Well, with all of that, folks, check the show notes for the links. And if you're hearing my voice and you're in the Southland and you're in town that weekend, I better see you in Glendale.
Oh, and also, final thing. We will have opportunities. Sorry.
Great sign off. Go for it, though.
Oh God, no! Just if there will be opportunities to volunteer. So if you can't afford a ticket, or if you want to be involved in the weekend and aren't part of one of those teams, we will have opportunities for volunteers in various logistical positions and support positions throughout the weekend. So feel free to reach out.
Yes. Well, I think we'll have,
we'll have a link or whatever.
I don't think we'll have a link by this point, but there will be a formal call for volunteer positions and shifts at a not too distant point in time. So don't just reach out blindly. Wait for the call, or check the show notes. We might actually have the link in there. We're recording this a couple of days before this publishes, so hopefully we'll have that. The goal here is not, hey, you can't afford to, don't come. We definitely have some positions available, and there are needs over the weekend for absolute certainty, because it's a lot of work. Once again, I want to thank Graham for being our guest on the show this week, and I want to thank everyone who has said yes and accepted the invite to this year's Los Angeles Immersive Invitational. April 21st is when you get to experience the showcase. And look, I know we're here to hype this up. I know I just did hype with Graham for like an hour straight. It's really fun. It is a lot of fun. We have no idea what the work is going to be right now, but it is definitely going to be fun. Got some more events coming up soon. We'll be announcing the event that's going to follow the Invitational. We'll be announcing that during the live stream reveal of the NoPro Audience Award winners. That event will be happening in our Discord on Thursday, the 14th. Just about 6 o'clock, I want to say, maybe even as early as 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30. We got to set the time. Anyway, somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock on this coming Thursday, we're going to be doing the reveal both of all of the winners of the Audience Award, the votings, including the Reader's Special Award and the Editors Awards this year, for which we just held our meeting for last night. And calculated exactly what we're going to do. We found something we're really happy with, because we want to put some recognition on some shows. And that is all going to be happening this Thursday, the 14th. Let's just call it 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So you just saw me schedule something in real time. I think that's also what's also on the calendar. I'm just not looking in the calendar. 5:30 p.m. Pacific time in our Discord. And you're like, oh, but Noah, the Discord is for like people who were in the Discord before the Great Shutdown and backers only. Yeah, it is. So if you want to be there for the ceremony, either you had Discord access before or you're a NoPro Patreon backer. So that's how that's going to work. We will also be publishing the award winners the next day, and we are recording what's going on in the Discord that night, and it'll be next week's episode of the show. So if you're not live, you will get it all the next day. So there you go. We're not hiding things from anybody. It's just, look, I don't love the paywalls, but gotta figure out some way to make this like sustainable. Just have to. And now we're in hooker by crook mode. It's what we be doing. But next week's episode will be the awards. You can be there live during the reveal if you want to. There won't be any speeches. We're not doing speeches this year. Maybe next year we'll do some speeches. It's just been it's been a very rough few weeks on the home front. And that means I have not had the bandwidth to go the extra mile. But that doesn't mean we've shut down by any means. Obviously, we're doing this. We've got, like I said, there's another event that's going to be coming up in May, which will be announcing at the awards ceremony and thus on the podcast. And just, a few other things here and there. So we're keeping very, very busy. And for those of you who are arriving at South by Southwest right now, or who are listening as you're wandering around South by, just so you know, there is a guide. We put up our FOMO guide this week. And hopefully you already grabbed it. I'm sure you did. But in case you didn't, or maybe you're listening to this on Monday, you're coming home from South by Southwest and you're finding out, and then you're clicking through and you're seeing the guide and you're going like, oh no, I missed this thing. Cause that's a thing that happens sometimes. So anyway, look, those rough month, complicated things that are going on, I got to get back to them. So, but I will talk to you all next week. I will hopefully see a lot of you in the studio, as it were, for the show of the reveal on Thursday. And those who aren't in there or can't make the live taping, just know that it will be here in the podcast feed on Friday. Ooh, that's going to be a lot of work. Why do I set myself up for that kind of scenario? I don't know. I'm stupid. The associate producer of No Proscenium is Parker Sella. Music for No Proscenium is by Chris Porter of the Speakeasy Society and Solar the Podcast. Special thanks to Siobhan O'Loughlin for voicing our intro. And all of this is my fault. I'm Noah Nelson. And until next time, I'll see you at the show.